Okay, excellent. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Planning Board meeting of December 11th, 2025. We have two items on the agenda tonight. One is a site plan review for 52 Woodbine Avenue. And the other is a presentation by Strongtowns Northampton, as well as some other kind of administrative business at the end. We take public comment about items other than the things on the agenda at the beginning. So is there anybody here or on Zoom who would like to give public comment on something other than 52 Woodbine Avenue or the Strong Towns presentation? Okay. In that case, we will move to open our 7 p.m. hearing, which is a site plan review by Louis Builders for 3 new detached units and site changes at 52 Woodbine Avenue, Northampton, map ID 25A-149. Is there a presentation? Yes. You want to be there and you want the light on the microphone to be green.
And yeah, you can clear that. And then you want to share screen. Nope. Okay, just hit okay. And then to share screen, you can do that. And it's this window is one of, I don't know what plan you're presenting. So
I guess we'll do the site plan.
you have to hit share. Okay.
Hi, good evening. Dan Lewis Builders. So the area we're looking at is 52 Woodbine Ave. We're looking to add 3 freestanding condo units around the perimeter of the property on the left-hand side and wrap towards the back. It meets all the URB zoning stuff. I'm not sure what more you guys are looking for presentation wise.
I think if you could walk us through the site plan, I mean, we can see what's up here on screen, but maybe you can talk through parking, bike storage, snow storage, other kinds of elements of the kind of total functioning
Sure.
of the site, the proposed connection to the bike path at the back, et cetera.
Sure, when you drive in first on the left-hand side, those are the 3 existing current parking spots for the 3-family that's currently sitting there. And that's where those are gonna currently stay. And then the first unit, as you drive in, that's the first car garage, and then that unit stands alone there. And as you drive past it, you'll have the other 2 units towards the backside. And then the walkway towards the walk path is basically going to be bark mulch that we're going to have go up over the hump instead of cutting into the hillside there. And that'll be for the residents of the units for 52. As far as snow storage, we have ample snow storage when you push the snow where the 3 parking spots are towards the backside there. And then also just straight in when you come in where the walkway is towards the walk path in the back. Bike storage, we have it behind the existing 3-family that's there. That's where that bike rack is on the thing. We have spots for at least 9 bikes on there.
And I'm sorry, you said that's existing?
No, it's not.
Yep.
There's nothing currently there.
Okay.
We're adding it as required.
Okay.
As far as fencing wise, we are doing privacy fencing around the when you drive in on the left-hand side, that'll start and then wrap around all the way to the Montessori side on the south side of the property there. We're also going to infill with arborvitae bushes and a few maple trees too. We're not taking down any trees on the property at all. The property's all grass and all flat.
You gonna do anything with the path, you know, as the stuff just turns into dirt, how are you going to keep the path existing?
The walk path that goes up to the bike trail?
Yeah,
Just bark mulch from the arborist that we talked to. It'll be the best thing. Just do bark mulch over it. It's a pretty flat path that goes up.
no,
And-
I get that, but I'm saying within 2 seasons, at most, it's gonna be gone.
I think they'll have to just maintain it and do more bark mulch on it.
Rich,
Related
can you turn
question.
on your mic too?
Yeah, also with regard to that path, are you prepared to have people cut through this property to get to Woodbine?
No, it'll be our intent is to have a gate there that'll have a code on it for the residents of 52.
Oh, okay, thank you.
What?
At the end of that path, just for my own knowledge, does the property directly abut the path, like, or,
It does.
so it's like, yeah, the
Literally
actual
walking
path
over
is
the
like
hill.
right there.
Yep. That's right
Okay.
there. There's actually currently on the north side, on the left, there's actually a small walk path that people have been using that goes down and then swoops up, you know. But since the property has been cleaned up, they've put, no trespassing signs on there.
While we're on the notion of pedestrians and path, is there plan?
Any markings for pedestrian traffic through the site for the people who live there? Or they're just gonna walk down the driveway?
For
Are
the,
there internal sidewalks at all? Yeah.
no, it'll be just on the side, on the driveway itself.
So in between the two back units, what's that gray shade?
That's a
there?
sidewalk.
That's a sidewalk,
That's a sidewalk.
but the sidewalk's gonna stop right there.
It'll stop where it starts approaching the hillside to go up into the berm.
Okay,
So we're not cutting into the berm.
right. And where will it stop on the other end of that?
It'll just continue up over.
No, no, no. I mean, when you're going out towards the street, you're
Towards
leaving the
Woodbine?
property, right?
Oh, a sidewalk? There, we didn't intend on having a sidewalk out. It was just gonna be driveway going out, was our intent.
So you're just gonna build this little piece of sidewalk between those two units?
Yes, yeah, and that'll be like, see how it has the front sidewalks that go to their front doors?
Yeah.
That's the intent for those as well.
It's somewhere this changes to mulch, right? I'm understanding correctly.
Yep. Okay. Where we get into more of the root system of the trees, that's where we'll change into mulch. Because kind of where the silt fence line is, that's that dotted hash line that goes around the property. On the back side, that's pretty much where the canopy of the trees come around. So we won't be going further into there. The units are roughly 1,400 square feet. There are 3 bedrooms, 1-car garage, first floor bedroom, 2 bedrooms up on top. I think, is there a picture in here, Caroline, of them?
I mean, you can go to the online, on the, behind that is the, your file is pulled up, so you can pick whatever attachment you want to look at.
It seems like the site plan's in here twice.
Did you get the list of it? Did you go back to that Made for the listed attachments.
I think it's on here, isn't it?
Should we prompt him on this first?
Yep.
I think we should.
Right, so that's because it's a site plan, but this is your list of files. Yeah.
Can I ask a question of Carolyn while we're
Yeah.
waiting? If you connect to the bike path, do you need permission from, I assume, DCR? Is that something that,
Yes, so two things. One is the zoning specifically says that pedestrian bicycle movement on site should be connected from the development to cycle tracks or bike paths. And so that means a firm surface to the bike path. But yes, permissions would be required from DCR, so they'd have to work that through. And permissions to get, connect all the way through with an accessible path that's 5%, grade,
okay, so a firm surface meaning?
not mulch. Yeah.
Okay. Have you been in touch with DCR about this?
We have not. I didn't realize that, because when we had the tech meeting, it was encouraged do that. I didn't realize it was gonna turn into this type of thing. I'd have to see if the developer wants to do that or not. There is a current path on the side that they're currently using as right now. It's been there since the 52 has been in existence,
Yeah, I know that I live a few blocks down. I know there are several
Yeah.
unofficial paths that go through there, but I think if you're making an official path, that probably changes.
Do we have to make the official path? I don't know how complicated that path is going to be through DCR is I guess what I'm saying. You know what I mean?
I mean, I don't think you need a path at all.
And then
Right,
I guess we would.
Well, you would need to, if you wanted a different standard, you could approve a different standard, but the zoning requires that if you're connecting a development that's next to a cycle track or a bike path, it needs to connect for the people on the property. It's not meant as a public access path.
Okay.
But again, it's sort of to address the ability for anyone who is on the property to be able to access, and a mulch path is not a solid surface for people who have mobility issues or and again, like as Sam noted, the would have to be regularly maintained in order to keep it that way.
Mhm.
So you all can certainly evaluate if, for example, the applicant can't get permission from DCR to cut a formal, bituminous or cement concrete connection, then, you could evaluate that condition and waive this standard.
Okay, but the standard is if you're developing next to the bike path, if your property abuts the bike path, you must provide access.
Yeah, and it's, even though it doesn't state this, it's got to be ADA accessible. So any connector you're making on any property really has to meet accessibility standards.
That mean like theoretically stock it?
Sam, can you turn your mic on? Thank you.
Does that mean theoretically that if the house was on like a steep cliff or a steep hill, like you'd have to carve into it to get to the bike path?
It depends on the condition. There aren't, you might do a switchback, you might
Okay.
have, a span or something that's just, or the board could waive it,
Right,
like conditions don't,
Okay.
yeah,
got it.
conditions
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
allow for this.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Caroline, I'm trying to share this up there and I'm just not seeing the drawings, the button for this thing. I'm sorry. It's not my preview. Just
You have to do it from the share window, from the Zoom window, and you go hit share, and then click that and share.
These are the 3 condo units that we're proposing to do on the property. They kind of fit in with the house that's adjacent on the backside and more of the lower line houses in the neighborhood.
I know the DPW, I think, had some questions or they want a little bit more information from you about the utilities as they're depicted on the plan. Have you seen those comments?
I have not seen those comments. I am working with, so originally I met with Brendan and Keith from both water and how we were gonna bring in
Yep.
sewer and stub it onto the property and all that stuff. So they were okay with all that. And then just recently, we've been asked to just show our utility lines going into the rest of the property. So I do have our engineer Terry working on that
Okay.
as well. So I'll have that basically for the next meeting as well.
Okay.
He's also working on the stormwater, the sheeting of the storm flow coming off the property.
Yep.
He's working on that as well.
And how do you plan for connecting to electric at the 3 new units?
It's either gonna be underground from the pole through the tree belt, from the power company, or they're gonna tap in off the house and come down off the house, because they have a tie on the house now. And then from that tie, they feed the house. So they may come down that way and then go underground from there. It's gonna be underground either way.
Okay.
It'll be underground. We got two location spots to come in.
Carolyn, a general question for you. Your staff memo raised a variety of issues that needed to be addressed. Has the applicant seen those comments? Does it make sense for us to kind of it probably does make sense for us to walk through them now to make sure if there are any questions or further
Right.
clarification
Yeah.
needed? Okay.
Yep.
So my suggestion is that we do that and then maybe we can see what other questions emerge and then open it up to public comment. So water and sewer line location, I think we've talked about, bike rack. Carolyn, is what's shown on the plans, and we now have heard a number of at least 9 bikes. Is that sufficient, or is there more the applicant needs to provide there?
No, and since all of these have garages, that, that counts as bike storage. They're deep garages, so there really probably isn't they could pick whatever exterior racks they want for other, in addition to, but it's, the requirement is based on per unit, and since there is inside storage capacity, that could also count. So whatever style rack they want on the outside is fine.
While we're on that, I would just suggest to the developer for the convenience of the new homeowners that outside rack is covered by some simple roof system that allows the bikes to be out of the weather somewhat.
Right. Makes sense.
But I understand totally about the garages, but given America's consumption rate, those garages are gonna be filled with everything else besides bikes. So the bikes will probably be put outside.
Well, the bike rack was for the 3-family mainly too.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Considering that the standalone condos have their garage for storage.
Okay. All right, moving down the line of the comments, the next is traffic mitigation. So you'll need to, comply with the requirements for the increase in trips related to the project. And so that could be made in the form of a payment in lieu, which is $1,000 per unit in a
And
one-time
that would be for
fee.
the 3 units, not the other 3 units, correct? Just the 3 new
It's
units?
the increase. correct?
Right, it's the incremental increase.
Yeah.
So it's 3 units, not
Understood.
existing. Yep.
We've talked about the access to the bike path at the end. So I think, from what I understand and have seen in the plans, it seems like the site is well situated to have access, but there's a variety of issues there in terms of grade and protection of the trees back there and, approval from DCR and so forth. So,
Well, just to get back onto that, is that bike path access required for the URB zoning, or?
Mhm.
I guess what I'm saying is if it is required. Is that right?
Yep.
Am I saying- Okay.
But you could have like a crushed stone path, like an inexpensive.
Sam, can you turn on your microphone? Thank you.
He could have a crushed stone path.
Yeah, I mean,
It's a flat surface. It's not like,
well, it's not. I mean, it's relatively low grade going up, but then it drops down. So
okay,
I think that there's no topo, so it's not clear what the percentage grade change is. So maybe if it's under 5%, that should be fine. And yes, you all can approve any material, and if it makes sense to have the least invasive material there because of the mature trees, that's certainly within your realm of approval to acknowledge. But you'd want to see that, like, what's the rationale for not doing a solid surface path? It's clearly spelled out.
yeah, and money is a perfectly good reason.
Yes and no.
Well, it is to me,
Well,
but,
To me, it would be more of if I gotta get more engineering involved and it becomes like a thing, and if it's not required, then we'll address it later, that I'll have to run it by the developer, but it is something we would like to do, just trying to keep it simple.
yeah, no, I appreciate that. So like, we're gonna definitely want to know the grade and at least that, and whatever materials.
But we'll visit that now that we know. Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
And
the material, I mean, needs to be ADA compliant too, right? Is that-
Yeah, so mulch wouldn't, but a TRG or something,
Mhm.
compacted stone or something, stone
Mhm.
dust. Fine.
Okay. Anything else on the bike path access before we continue on? Okay. Just one other thing, just to make sure, it's noted here that the design should be also evaluated by a certified arborist to make sure that whatever that is minimizing impact.
Yep.
Yep. Okay. So Carolyn, maybe can you talk us through the requirements for the landscaping, additional details on the landscaping plan existing and proposed?
Yeah, so it's not, the applicant says that they added a planting guide on the plans, but I didn't see it, and I think Dan noted the species and that there would be some maples, but if you could just bring that plan.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. It's on the ledge or on the side. I apologize. I am not the best at computers here. Yeah, on the ledge or on the side there, we have the trees. We're doing new arborvitaes, a few maples for new plantings. And then we have the larger trees that are on the hillside and that one big oak in the corner on the north side of the property that we have identified as well. And there is no trees that we are touching. We're adding everything else. And
Do you
landscaping.
have a listing of the
Where's the
plant
ledger?
material?
It's basically arborvitae's, the maple tree, and the landscape planting is the condo owners would basically do their own.
It's all down here at the bottom
Yeah.
of
Those down everybody.
the whole legend has a little bit at the bottom about, it's not a separate planting plan.
What is it?
Right here under the legend, all the way down at the very bottom.
Bottom left. of the
Proposed
site
maple
plan.
tree.
And then we would do general plantings around each unit and let the each unit owner just, personalize it themselves.
So I think probably what you'll need is to identify the total number. Typically the landscape plan has the species and the size upon planting in its own separate table.
Okay.
But it would be important for the board and the public to know, how many trees are being planted, what size upon planting, what the species is. So, what kind of maple tree, what kind of arborvitae, and to clarify that.
No problem.
Carolyn, there are also some notes and potential issues here related to the trees on abutting properties, their drip lines possibly being near or overlapping with the proposed developments, and the need for an arborist to evaluate. There was some information from an arborist in the file. Is that it doesn't address pre-construction tree root protection, et cetera. It
Yeah.
does make some broad recommendations. So can you clarify kind of what, if anything, additional is needed for that evaluation?
Sure, and I sent this along to the applicant, a sample of what other applicants have provided for a detailed tree report and inventory to identify sort of the species of tree that is closest and that hangs, which drip line is over where this proposed structure is, and an evaluation of its health and also potential impact to the root zone during construction and recommendations for protection of the root zone during construction, so that then the board can see what the arborist recommends for those specific measures and can incorporate that into a condition of the permit, so that protection and any kind of mitigating efforts can be done ahead of any kind of work on the site.
Yeah, we've already contracted with a different arborist to get a better report. But the drip line, you can see, is the surveyors have it ready indicated on there, some swivel. That swivel line that wraps around. That
Yep.
is the actual drip line, the canopy of the tree. So our foundation is just right inside of that.
Okay. Just for the benefit of people online, could you just repeat that so they can
Oh,
hear you
sure,
at the
sorry.
mic? Yeah, no, it's okay.
If you look on the north side of the plan on the back side, you'll see a swivel line that wraps through that. It's a few feet away from the dashed line where the arborvitaes are. That is the actual drip line, the canopy of the trees, how it wraps around. And you'll see how it comes around the backside where the Montessori school is, how it comes in. So the drip line, it essentially just comes right to the edge of the foundations. It's not like we're going to be 10 feet from the edge of the tree, So, but I do understand you have to get that tree report.
Yeah, and the other part, of course, is making sure that there's no construction equipment or staging materials within that drip line. So there'll be a fence protecting that.
Okay. Let's see. All right. So it sounds like lighting should be fine because the applicant has noted that there won't be any site lighting, and exterior fixtures they have to comply with the code, so they don't need to submit a lighting plan.
Right.
Correct.
Yep.
Okay. Carolyn, can you talk about the fence? It sounds like there's an issue with the
Oh, yeah.
height at where it's proposed.
I think that can be, they can either fix it on the plan now, or it can be a condition that you just have to meet the zoning, that it has to be pulled back enough so there's not a sight distance issue with people coming out of this property, not seeing pedestrians in the sidewalk.
I can adjust that on a
So
plan, not an
that's
issue at all.
pretty straightforward.
Great. Okay. All right, you talked about stormwater, that's being worked on, and to clarify the sheeting, and we talked about snow removal. Can you talk about the plans for trash and trash removal?
Yeah, trash receptacles, they'll have their own individual. They'll keep them in the garages down there. The current 3-family has them outside already. And so we're not doing any dumpsters on site.
Okay.
If that's what you mean. Yep.
Okay. Carolyn, did we miss anything so far?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Other questions from the board before we turn it to the public?
Just so we could be transparent, the
Yeah.
assumption is we're not gonna vote on this today,
Correct.
that it's gonna be continued for another week. We're giving the applicant information now to go back and come back with us with more information. Okay.
Correct. Okay, great. All right, I think at this time, we will open things up for public comment. You can take a seat. We'll let you know if and when we need you again. Thank you. We're going to take public comment first here in chambers and then online if there's anybody online who wants to give comment. If you would like to give comment, please raise your hand. And when I will call on you. And when you come up to the microphone, please state your name and address. So is there anybody here in chambers who would like to give comment on this project? Yes.
Hi. Steve Kane, 41 Woodbine. So I've got a few questions.
Okay.
One is this the numbers on these houses? They'll be Woodbine Avenue, is that correct?
Sorry, I should have clarified. So typically what we're going to do is collect questions and then we'll sort of group them all and then answer them at the end. So you can kind of roll through your questions and then we can address them.
So I'm wondering what the house numbers will be, whether they'll be Woodbine Avenue or whether this is going to be considered part of 52 with a 1, 2, 3 kind of arrangement.
Okay.
And whether or not that means that the driveway itself as it's constituted is actually part of Woodbine Avenue or whether or not it's a driveway. I'm wondering about what to do with overflow parking. I'm assuming that everybody who buys one of these is likely to have 2 cars and they will have people visiting or they will have people of some sort. Since I live at the end of Woodbine that's very close to this, I'm wondering what the overflow parking might look like. I am wondering about what the length of time will be for the construction, when it will start, when it's anticipated to be finished, and what the weekly construction hours will look like. I spent some time living next to a house that was being rebuilt, and they seemed to find ways to do work on Saturdays and Sundays. I'm wondering again about storm runoff. My wife is wondering about that as well. There are probably a few questions I've forgotten at this point, so I may raise my hand again. All right, thank you.
Thank you. So as I said, yes, typically we'll sort of gather everybody's comments and questions, address them, raise, pose questions back to the applicant or to Carolyn as needed. So are there other people here in chambers who would like to give comment on this project?
Hi, everybody. I'm Connie Fender, and I live at 29 Woodbine Avenue. We've owned property on Woodbine Avenue for 35 years, and it's our home, and we are concerned for several reasons. And questions I have, I guess, maybe starting with water runoff and how that's going to be handled. Because there's no contour lines to show elevations or anything that I've seen, but the bike path is lower than this property and it has standing water, along the bike path almost continually. When we had our house built, which is the third house down from this property on Woodbine Avenue, we had, and there's ongoing kind of water situations. If these properties are going to have basements, are there going to be sump pumps? And when the pump pumps it out, where does that water go? And just I guess the whole thing about water runoff, the impervious areas that are projected. Again, with the parking, it seems like there will be at least 2 cars per house. And it doesn't seem to me like with a single car garage where will the second car of each unit go? And like Steve asked about any kind of visitors parking, where will that take place? And my other concern about that is emergency vehicles. Is there room to get emergency vehicles into those back areas where these buildings are going to be, along with vehicles that are delivering packages and things there, as far as turning areas? How big is the curb cut allowed to be there to come into that property? It's kind of as it shows there on the corner, it's kind of an awkward turn off of 41. So just wondering, it just doesn't seem like there's enough areas designated there to handle what kind of traffic might be going in and out of there, as well as the cars parked. On-street parking at the end of Woodbine is very crowded. Woodbine is allowed to have parking only on the north side of the street, and the south side is no parking. During a lot of times in the winter, especially when we have snow and there's a ban, people don't really move their cars because a lot of those cars are from rental properties that they have driveways, but they don't allow all the renters to park in the driveways. And so they're on the street, and that same north side of the street that is parking is also, most of the hydrants, I think, are on that side of the street. So the other day when we had the snowstorm, several cars were still parked on the street, and the plow has to come out around them. And then you get all that snow buildup to come back in. If they cut in, then that dumps a lot of snow in whoever driveway that it tries to swirl around. Or when it comes back to plow later, it ends up depositing after homeowners have cleaned out their sidewalks and their driveways. That all gets redeposited back in, and they have to get people to come back for a second time. So this is going to add, if there's 2 cars to each of the new units, that's 6 cars. And I think 2 of the existing units are 2-bedroom and one's a 1-bedroom. So let's say there's 4 or 5 more cars. We're talking like 10, 11 vehicles in there. And if some of them can't find parking in there and they're going to park on the street, I think it might be a thing to look into for the town to see if the parking should be switched to on the south side, because that's where most of the rental units are that park on the street. And if they don't move, then they're the ones that suffer the consequences with the snow being left. And when they come and get their cars out, they don't clean that up, the people that, leave them parked there. So it gets to be a mess. But I'm more concerned about the safety issues, about the hydrants not being cleared out in front of where the hydrants are along that north side. I think that, I'd like to see some information about how the contours are on the property. I know it's relatively flat, but it sits up higher than all the back property line that goes down to the bike path. And so it just seems like, where's this water going to go to that's going to be collected on the roofs and come down gutters and be on the surface of all the parking areas? And I really think it's important that we know how that's going to be taken care of. And after the fact, once the property's built out, is it working? And how does that get followed up on? And what can be done if it doesn't work, if it can't control the water? Freestanding water is being more and more an issue because of the mosquito population. And there's the standing water is prevalent in that whole back property line adjacent to the bike path. So that's a real concern for me. And I think I'm really glad to hear that you're asking for the landscaping issues and stuff to be in writing. And so a lot of times we'll hear, oh, a few trees here and that, but there's no specifics on like the water mitigation and the landscaping, and that really needs to be documented so that there can be some control on that and we can see if it's been done or not done and addressed. And I think my last thing is about the access to the bike path. Like I said, we've owned property there for a little bit more than 35 years. And the bike path has been continually accessed that entire time, as firsthand knowledge from me, down the left side of the property line. If you're coming into it from Woodbine Avenue, there's a path that access and all the neighbors used it, and it's been continually used until this last property change where they put up no trespassing notices. And it's a real lifesaver for a lot of reasons, for people, instead of going out on the street, especially North Street and the intersection at Day Ave, get up to access the bike path. It was great. So I'm wondering if there's any stipulation or regulation that because it was continually used, that, and they're putting an access in anyway, is there any way that the neighbors or however, the people that have been using it all the time can still access it, and that's, I use it all the time, did use it all the time to walk out there and to take my bike. And it's been a real hardship, I think, for a lot of people in that area because of that. I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else here in council chambers who would like to give comment on this project? All right, I'm not seeing any hands here, so we will turn it over to the folks on Zoom. If you are watching on Zoom and you would like to give public comment, please use the raise hand feature, or that would be easiest, or I suppose you could turn your camera on and wave your arms about, and we will call on you and allow you to unmute. Next one. Rosalind.
Hi, thank you. So I'm in a butter on Northern Avenue. I'm trying to understand where I am in relation to it's a little hard for me to tell on this picture, and I'm not able to enlarge it because it's not my own, I don't have control over the screen. I'm curious.
Rosalind, I'm sorry to interrupt. Could you just give your full name before you continue? Thank
Sure,
you.
I'm Rosalind Torrey, and I live at 45 Northern Avenue.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I agree, water is going to be a huge issue, light, privacy. I know that's not the city's concern, it's my concern. I'm curious if there's any possibility of not having that larger parking lot be pavement and be something that is, not a hard, I'm not sure, but something that could deal with some runoff. I'm curious about that fencing and the plantings, and if there's going to be anything to kind of like try and reduce light, sound, or noise for people who now are going to have a bunch of houses where we've had some space. So I think where there's a little garage in the right-hand corner, I think that fence is my property line. So I'm going to be like the little parking lot and then a house right in my yard. So again, I can't quite tell what the privacy is or if there's, anything being done, what I'm facing, if I'm facing the back of a house or a side of a house. So I don't know if you could help explain that since I'm not able to enlarge it on the screen. Thank you.
Carolyn, is there anybody else online? Okay. All right. So we've heard a variety of questions. I'm going to take a stab at some of them and then may go back to the applicant or to Carolyn on some. Carolyn, the question of the house numbers. I think the question was whether these were going to be part of 52 or separate.
So the Department of Public Works issues addresses. Given that this is on the parcel of 52, my gut reaction would be it'd be 52 unit ABC, what have you. So it'll be it's still 52 Woodbine is the parcel. It's just a driveway. There's no road extension. Just like every other, property on the street with units in the back, the driveway goes off those units.
Can I ask you a question?
Need to talk to the chair?
If you would approach the mic and introduce yourself, please, as well.
Douglas Fountain. I'm representing the owner, Sam Craig of 52 Woodbine. Question that you're talking about numbers. I was talking about that with the contractor. We actually do have 50, 52, and 54 on that house. So it just isn't 52. So we didn't know if, like Carolyn said, would it be 52 ABC? Or would we then, because it's 50, 52, and 54, would it go to 56, 58, 60? We're just kind of curious about that.
Sounds like that's a DPW question. So I think that the information for the members of the public who are asking about that is that that's a DPW decision, but that this is, it's one parcel with a driveway, not an extension of the street, and how they number it is going to be up to the folks over at DPW. Relative to the questions of parking, they have met the minimum parking requirements for the site. And so it is not within we can't require them to add any additional parking beyond what is required in the zoning. So it will be up to the people who live in those units, if they have additional vehicles or guests or what have you, to figure out how to make arrangements for that. Relative to the question of how the parking is arranged on the rest of the street, that is also not under the purview of this board. If you have questions about that, I believe talking to your city councilor and or going to the TPC, the Transportation and Parking Committee, they're the ones who address those kinds of questions and look at that flow in the city.
Right, about shifting parking, no parking from one side of the street to the other.
Correct.
Yeah.
Let's see, there was a question about when was the construction going to start? How long would it take and the hours of work? We certainly don't have that information. I'm not sure the applicant has that information. I will just say relative to the hours of work that there are noise ordinances that they would have to abide by. So a certain time of day before which they couldn't start and a time they need to stop. Beyond that, that's not something that there's no particular rules that need to be followed, correct?
Weekend construction requires police approval. So, and should only be done in extenuating circumstances. So if there are any issues, particularly on Sundays, a call to the police department would be appropriate.
Okay.
Can I ask you a follow-up one? Just the question.
Okay. Sure.
Thanks.
If you would come up to the podium, please. Thank you.
Steve Kane again, 41 Woodbine. Quick question. When it comes to the way the construction is being done, the front house, what's being planned for that house? What's gonna ultimately gonna look like when it's all said and done? Yeah, that's, okay, okay.
They'll all look the same.
It's gonna just be painted over and,
Oh, you mean the existing three?
yeah,
family?
the existing.
I don't.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
So people who are online who may not have been able to hear that, the question was, what's happening with the existing house on the site? And believe the answer was, it's staying as is. And also to clarify, what we're looking at is we're looking at the overall flow of the site, but the proposed changes and additions. So what is or isn't happening. There are no proposed changes to the existing structure as part of this project proposal. So there's nothing in front of us to review relative to proposed changes there. There were questions about stormwater runoff. So we talked about that a little bit earlier, but Carolyn, can you just clarify? So this is under an acre of disturbance, correct? So they don't need a full stormwater plan?
Correct. So the scale of this project doesn't trigger a stormwater analysis of the site, but the standard for any project is the water has to stay on site. So you can't direct new stormwater flows off to abutting properties. The applicant has indicated that they're looking at showing where that goes. So you might take roof leaders and put them into dry wells. It depends on the soils, but certainly roof runoff can't be directed to the abutting parcels or to the street.
So just so we're clear on that, there is a level of information missing or that will need to be added. Not for full stormwater approval, but like this has no stormwater information or plans or proposed contours, things of that nature. Like there is a level of information we'll see eventually before approving this or no?
It's so a full topo map full grading plan may not be necessary if it's a flat site for this scale of project. However, the applicant has said that their engineer they're engaging is going to come back with a plan for how they're going to address the roof runoff, so it's clear on the plans. Yeah.
So, and I would say that speaks to the comment about a permeable surface for the driveway. If their engineer feels like they need more facilities to kind of recoup that water or have it percolate down, that they may suggest they'll do the driveway out of a different substance. I am taken by, and we've talked about this a couple of times, the open space requirement in this zone, I should know that, is
40%.
40%. And I'm really taken by we have here the applicant that it's 48% open space. Golly gee, when I look at this plan and I don't see how it's 48% with those buildings, the porches, the garages, the driveway as proposed, the big house. That's 50%. What the applicant is saying is 50% of this project is green space. Yeah, so I might ask the applicant to go through those figures again. And maybe you can color code but I would like to see them presented again. I just don't see 50% of this plot now is 50%. And maybe the engineer, the stormwater engineer who looks at this to come back will have a better idea of that too. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Let's see, there was a question about the size of the curb cut. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe there's no proposal to change the existing curb cut. It's just using what's already there and extending the driveway further back into the property. Could you just approach the mic? Thank you.
That is correct. I mean, we can't exceed, I think it's 15 feet on the curb cut.
13?
1-5.
1-5, yep.
So that's where you are and that's where you'll stay.
Correct.
Yep, got it. Okay. Just me trying to interpret my own notes. Thank you. Yes. Yeah. So thank you, Rich. There was a question about access for emergency vehicles to the back of the site, delivery vehicles, turning radius, etc.
Yeah, so I mean, we don't require delivery vehicles to be able to go onto properties. I mean, it is a public street, so that's typically where they go to deliver packages is from the street. And then emergency, for EMTs, they can get on the site. Typically for, a fire truck, they're not going to pull into a private driveway. So they would just serve from the street.
Okay. Thank you. I think the last two questions that I have were, one was relative to, I think effectively how the houses are going to be oriented on the site. So if you're on an abutting property, we saw some, renderings of the houses, which view is going to be visible from each of those sides. And then I think the other was, it wasn't exactly phrased this way, but effectively, did the property owners consider leaving the bike path access open as more of kind of an easement, rather than limiting it to the private residence?
To answer the question of the bike path, no, we would not be opening that up to the private residents. I think from when they took over the property, they had major issues with the amount of people coming in and out of there, leaving their dog stuff everywhere on it. So that's why they put that sign up there as well.
Just to clarify, these houses, it's gonna be an HOA eventually?
Yeah.
Houses are gonna be sold. So that HOA then, like any neighborhood, the neighbors may acquiesce to allowing their neighbors to pass
They
through
could.
there.
They could,
That's like it happens in many neighborhoods
It could.
over time,
absolutely. Yep, you could.
or they may not, but
To address how the houses are oriented, they basically faced each other. They basically face into the driveway. So you'll have the frontages there, garage doors, and then sides and back faces the backs.
Got it. And so we don't have the site plan up
I
anymore,
know, so
but
it's saying restarting on the computer.
oh,
Yeah.
we're
Okay.
getting a new one soon.
Yep.
No, it's the
that-
weekly reboot. Thursday night. I don't know why they picked Thursday night.
so I guess it's let me see if I can get my orientation right. The western side of the
Yes,
site.
Northern Ave, the woman that was on the phone, I think Rosalind, she's gonna be staring out the garage side of one of the units in the back side. She would be seeing that
Okay.
if she was looking over the fence.
Okay. Yep. And there are, in the project file on the city website, there are renderings, of the house that might help give a sense of what that.
Yeah, I did have them up at one
Yeah.
point, but
Oh, that actually reminds me, the other question, I think it was related to the stormwater, was basements, but are there basements
There are.
proposed? Yes. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Anything I missed or other questions from the board? George?
I think there was a question raised about the privacy fence from Northern Avenue looking onto the property. And I think what we see is just a 6-foot privacy fence. There's no plantings along that line. All the plantings seem to be in the back, towards the bike path. So that for that abutter, they'll have a 6-foot fence, but
Mm-hmm.
These are new plantings.
or they do, okay. So Cameron has corrected me. There are 4 or 5 new plantings, which we'll see in more detail at the next iteration.
There we go. Where that maple tree is.
Other questions or comments? Okay. So I think there are a variety of additional, details that we look forward to, hearing more about at the next hearing. Carolyn, the memo suggested a continuation.
I suggest that we continue this for, what is the date? January 11th, 22nd, January 22nd.
Wait a second. It wasn't the 22nd. It was wait a second, I thought. Was it the 22nd?
What? Yeah.
I heard wait a second.
Yeah, it's not that late, is it?
Yeah, that's why I was like 22nd.
Are we not having an earlier meeting, or
Um,
do we already have permits?
Because of the holidays and the amount of work that's, needs to be done and submitted and reviewed.
Okay.
That the first meeting in January doesn't make sense.
Okay, got it. Do you have a time?
22nd, we don't have anything yet for that meeting, so.
Okay,
At 7 o'clock.
all right. There is a motion to,
That was a motion.
I
Yeah,
believe so.
it was yeah, it wasn't like your motions.
All right, Sam has moved that we continue the hearing to 7 p.m. on January 22nd, and Rich has seconded. All those in favor? Great. All right, thank you. We will see folks again on January 22nd. All right. I believe that the next item on the agenda is a presentation by Strong Towns Northampton of an independent review of housing goal implementation of sustainable Northampton.
I have. Let's just see.
Oh, yeah.
I
think it's
Oh.
all logged out.
Yeah.
Stay tuned, technical issues.
No, it's right here.
Oh.
Okay. Normally it just comes right back. Maybe it'll pop back up.
Oh, the Zoom.
Yeah. Yeah. I restored the pages. Oh, we can just do this.
A little intermission. Especially when it's dark at 4.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
It's really hard.
Okay.
I know, I looked over at
I know it does, I know.
Almost there.
Thank you.
Okay, and then I just gotta
Okay,
fix it
great.
over here.
Then-
Just hit okay. There's a slot.
Great.
So we'll make sure to.
What? Sure.
Okay. Okay. Is this is on? Yes. Good.
Is it great?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Great. Well, thank you all. I know it's already getting kind of late, so I appreciate you allowing us to present tonight. I'm Elena, and I'm from representing Strong Towns Northampton tonight. I'm also a Smith student, a junior, and I will be presenting a review of progress on the 2021 Sustainable Northampton Comprehensive Plan. And the goal of this is to show the achievements of the city already, and then also recommending next steps or goals that have not yet been met. And so the three main goals that are outlined in the sustainability plan are the goal of creating new housing, and then preserving and sustaining existing affordable housing, and then the third goal is work to end homelessness. And so the create new housing goal is definitely where Strong Towns' interests are most aligned, but of course all of these goals are very interconnected. But I have a little more to say on the first goal, but the report covers all three, and you should have been sent it. Hopefully you're maybe able to look over it a little bit. But I'm going to be basically summarizing the main takeaways and then posing some questions for the city and for you all to sort of think about. Okay, so where Northampton is making progress. The city of Northampton provides seed or leverage funding for every affordable housing project that applies to the city, either using CPA or CDBG funds. And since 2021, the city has supported the creation of 282 new affordable housing units. And that number might be a little bit higher at this point. But and then the city also supports social service nonprofits through CDBG funds. And then also the Division of Community Care is a big achievement in terms of supporting unhoused people and people in need of social services. And the Community Resilience Hub, which is being planned, not yet built, of course, but that's another big positive step for connecting people in the community to social services, excuse me. And then a big focus also of this report has been to document recent zoning changes. So the city has eliminated single-family home only districts across the city, and allowed also half-scale units in URB and URC districts as a density bonus for building smaller homes. And then also city allows 2-family homes by right across the city. So that includes like what you might traditionally think of as ADUs, but the just any like 2 structures can be on one lot, or 2 single-family homes can be on one lot. The city also reduced or eliminated parking requirements in residential areas. Sorry, I'm closing. Okay. And then also created a 250% density bonus for projects with at least 50% affordable units, reduced lot lines for smaller setbacks on individual lots, and this is a recent change, permitted residential conversion of existing historic structures. Okay. And so the remaining challenges are just that the cost of housing and land is continuing to rise, and there's high construction costs. And housing is needed at all income levels to prevent competition over limited units. And according to Wayfinders and the UMass Donahue Institute, their report, 16,766 housing units are needed in Western Massachusetts to meet the expected demand in 2035. And of course, limited funding is always an issue, and hoping to, like, a desire for new funding sources. And also, yeah, Northampton is just a desirable location, and the housing market's experiencing pressure. And also, there is some desire for developers to be building more smaller units, or starter home types that are like naturally more affordable, even if they're not officially subsidized or subsidized affordable housing. Okay. So we have this list of sort of suggestions, recommendations for what the city can do next. So the first is encourage and explore innovative or non-traditional affordable housing options, such as financing assistance programs to help homeowners build ADUs, and also density bonuses for very small home ownership units, kind of already mentioned. And then further reducing the minimum lot sizes, through reducing the minimum frontage and depth requirements, again, to encourage and allow for smaller homes on smaller lots. And then also adopting pre-approved housing plans with simplified building permit review procedures to make it easier for people to add a second small single-family structure on their property, on their lot. And also removing planning board site plan review for the addition of a second unit on a parcel. And then also just public education forums, discussing the importance of developing housing of all types, and how to create an ADU or convert your house into a multi-family house. And also just desires generally for the development of new single room occupancy units. And there's also general concern about the funding that's available for housing rehabilitation programs, and making sure that those are funded in the way they need to be. And then we also have a question of whether the city can be partnering with Northampton Housing Authority to explore funding sources for new affordable units. I know that the Housing Authority is distinct from the city, but if there can be some support or encouragement of the Housing Authority, that could be great. And then, of course, proposed rent control measures, like it's a thing that a lot of people are talking about, but studying the effects to ensure that if rent control is adopted, that it's doing what we hope it to do and not having unintended negative consequences. And then also the idea of developing an implementation committee for the Sustainable Northampton Plan to ensure that the goals continue to be assessed and holding the city accountable. Okay, and then so some questions kind of to pose that based on what I already just shared was, how can we ensure that housing is built for those at all income levels? How can we ensure that housing rehabilitation programs are consistently funded? What community education specifically do we need? Again, should the Northampton Housing Authority be building new public housing? I know that's a controversial question, but something that maybe should be just thought about in a serious way. And also another sort of controversial issue that people disagree about, or, is should Northampton reconsider an affordable housing trust fund? Like, is that a way to bring in more money, or is it not? And also just identifying people, staff to ensure that units be preserved as affordable. And finally, how to create a better climate of support within the city for preserving market rate affordable units, meaning not official affordable housing, subsidized affordable housing, but units that are just more affordable than the rising prices in that the market is seeing right now. Okay. And then, yeah, just a little overview of, like, these are the objectives we've identified as sort of needing some more attention. I won't read those out loud, but those are pulled from the report. And yeah, that's all I have. I'm happy I can go back to the question slide or anything, but I'd love to hear anyone's initial thoughts about some of these questions, or if you have any questions for me about the report or what I've just said. It's a lot, I know.
If I might, thank you very much. Alana, that was great. Okay, thank you very much, Alana, that was great. You know, a little background, I encouraged Elena to come and give the report to the board because we deal so much with housing, for sure. And here she's done a great amount of research with the building department, with Carolyn's office, with Nate, CDBG, in order to really kind of look at the metrics that were set out a bunch of years ago and see how we've done so far. And it's really laudable what the city has done. And I think having it all in one place for us is really good. It gives a list of all the developments the Valley Community Development has done, all the developments Wayfinders has done, all the developments that other affordable housing things, all in one place. It shows us all of the zoning amendments that we've worked on in those long joint meetings with the counselors that have really gone a long way in providing a good climate for affordable housing and a great housing market here in Northampton. So the Strong Towns piece, Strong Towns, some of you have heard about it, is, you know what, just a group of citizens who are concerned with transportation and housing in the city and want to help put a kind of a positive spin on it and also encourage more residents to come and support these kinds of projects that we're doing in the city. And often, as we know, we don't get a lot of support for some of the more controversial, larger apartment complexes. So I think this kind of thing in a group like Strong Towns goes a long way to do that. So yeah, I just want to thank, she spent, this is an internship that's not paid for, all volunteer on her part, on top of all of other school work. So I think she's helped me learn a lot about the background of affordable housing here, and I really want to thank you for all the work that you've done. But that's not questions about the report, more kind of
Thank you, George. Yes. And I also wanted to thank you, Carolyn, for all your feedback and your back and forth. It's helpful. Yeah, it's just, and a lot of this stuff is sort of confusing or not kind of, I don't know, clearly laid out, at least to the public. And so hopefully this is both a resource that the city can refer to and sort of see, okay, this is, all in one place, what we've done and what we said we would do and the things we still want to achieve. But then also, hopefully it's understandable, digestible to the public so they can be more engaged in supporting, advocating for affordable housing, or just understanding how it all works and a little bit of like how things are funded, because it's all very complex as I've discovered. Yeah.
Alena, a couple of weeks ago, presented a similar report to the Housing Partnership. Which they have perhaps even a larger responsibility than the planning board in terms of moving some of this along with our city. And they talk positively about some of these educational forums. They co-hosted with Carolyn back in the late summer a forum with some affordable housing developers and builders, which was very well received. And I think they're looking at trying to do that more, but more in neighborhoods around the city rather than a city hall. So something like that could, in the long run, really help what we do here at the planning board.
Yeah, no, the housing partnership seemed very excited and wanting to kind of define action steps or like define priorities for them as they have a coming with new leadership since Gwen is now counselor. So, yeah, I think an obvious first step is the public education piece of using this report as a resource and bringing together Strong Towns and the housing partnership to just get citizens debating, talking about this in an informed way, not just speculation. Yeah.
Well, I'll just say that I learned a lot from reviewing this, so thank you for putting it together.
Of course, thanks. Yeah.
Does the organization support rent control?
I don't think we really take like political. I don't know. Does someone else want to say that? I don't. Yeah, I don't think there's like
They
a
haven't wrestled with
no
that.
official opinion.
Yeah.
I think there's varying opinions amongst the people in the group. And I wouldn't say, I wouldn't define strong towns like, well, I don't know. It's more of a place for people to discuss and to like do projects as citizens, and not like, we hold these advocacy opinions that we're, I don't know. Danny, do you want to? I'm not the perfect person to answer this question.
To a few people in the group. Hi.
Hi, would you introduce yourself as well? Thank you.
Danny McCann, Strong Towns, Northampton. That was great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ellen has done so much work here. Rent control. I think that is not going to be an issue that Strong Towns Northampton would be able to take a vote on and achieve anything close to consensus. So I think we've got people on a lot of different sides of this issue with a lot of big feelings, and we're trying to have civil discussions about it in a room. So you should join us if you want to have those with us.
I have a question.
Yeah.
One of the recommendations you made was to have an implementation committee for Sustainable Northampton. I'm aware that one of the things that we do as a matter of course when we're reviewing projects is looking at how do they, work toward the goals that are laid out in Sustainable Northampton. So that's not exactly the same as an implementation committee, but nonetheless, it's one of the major things that we're looking at is to make sure that, all of the zoning regulations and the projects under those regulations are meeting those standards. So how do you see, what's the idea behind that proposal and how does it differ? Because I'm sure we're not the only board who's doing that. So what would that bring that isn't already happening?
It's a good question. This recommendation came from the fact that I know Greenfield has an implementation committee for their sustainability plan, or like their equivalent. And I spoke to someone who works for the city of Greenfield, and they seem to think it was a positive thing. And but I think you make a fair point that if that work is already being done by you all or other people, then maybe it's not necessary. But I think just having a group of people whose main focus is just the plan is huge and involves a lot of things. So that's already a huge task. And if it feels that, you all are focusing on other things, to have, I don't know, more likelihood for that accountability to actually happen if it's a group of people's main focus. That was the thought.
Sure. I'd be curious to hear more about how that committee is structured because yes, I think that this is happening in some other ways, but you're right, it's a big plan. And what's not necessarily happening is the kind of cross-fertilization, like even what you're proposing here, it affects what we're doing, what the Housing Partnership is doing, and many other groups in the city, and we aren't necessarily working together in the same way. So there might be some missed opportunities there. So I wonder if that's a piece of how it's working up there. So maybe if you have an opportunity and more time on your hands, you can find out even more about what they're doing up there.
Yeah, no, I'm sure I could gather some information. Yeah. Thank you.
So the city did have an implementation plan back in 2011 when the plan was first adopted. It was mostly focused on zoning revisions, and Danny was actually part of that. And so that was a 2-year effort to just sort of kickstart. It's one of those things that's really hard to maintain for the long term. As you know, it's hard to maintain people on boards. We're down 2 people. And like you said, it's not just about zoning. It's not just about housing. The plan covers every part of the city. So I think that the way that it's then sort of been worked its way out is it has been a little bit sectored in that, the park, I mean, we work with parks, let's say, or DPW on implementation. But the one thing that we're probably not so good at is tracking all the things. So this is a really great compilation of that, but across the entire plan too is just something the city doesn't. I mean, if we had loads of capacity and lots of money that was being put into municipal governance instead of other things, then maybe we could, but
You just need more excellent interns. Do you have friends who want to help?
there's
Yeah,
still staff capacity.
There were other interns this summer who did a similar report, and not as long. And it was around transportation. It was mainly focusing on certain intersections, like an audit of the conditions and suggestions for what should be done next. But so yeah, I don't know. Hope maybe more reports for other parts of the plan will come out of future interns.
Stacey, did you have a question?
Yeah, I'm gonna pass now. Thank you.
Okay. Sorry. Cameron? Oh, I thought you were sort of like, okay.
Well, actually, okay, I will. I don't know. You mentioned an affordable housing trust fund. Did the city consider that at some point, or
We have
what does-
one.
we
It's
do.
dormant.
Okay, what does that look like? Is that
Well, it takes so it was created first to rescue a project from transitioning to market rate housing. And the only reason for its existence was for that project. So money was paid into it sort of to support that and make sure that those units stayed affordable. But it takes an enormous, there's a whole structure around it. The mayor has to be part of it. There's tracking of funds. There's legal, real estate, expertise required to be on this board. And it was long before we had Community Preservation Act. And also block grant money wasn't going into affordable housing. So there was a lot, it was really hard to maintain after this project then sort of fizzled out. There was no real essence of its existence. And so it's sort of, there's still a line item in the budget with a little tiny bit of money in it. But now we have CPC. We have block grant that's much more robust in terms of where it's spending money. And we also have short-term rental income that goes to support affordable housing. So we haven't, and because of, again, capacity, both staff and community members, it didn't seem to be appropriate to just create a committee for the sake of creating a committee, because in fact, it doesn't have more money to put into creation of new units. And housing, these projects are $20 million projects. And so if you get, all of the money that we give to affordable housing is seed money to leverage the real money that builds the housing. So if you get $100,000 from CPC and $25,000 from block grant, and then another $25,000 from the Affordable Housing Trust, you're still at the end of the day just leveraging $20 million for a 60-unit project. So you're not really getting more units just by having that other board. And then you're also setting up another step for an applicant to go through to get that little tiny money. And finally, that just means that the state and federal entities that are paying, for the bulk of the project just pay a little bit less because they see that Northampton is given a little bit more. So
Yeah, I mean, people in the house, thank you for that explanation. That's very helpful. So yeah, your argument is that the amount of money that would come out of having a trust fund is just not enough to make it worth all the labor of. And then yeah, I don't know, with the housing partnership, there's a lot of people who disagree and claim that there is significant money that could come, but I guess obviously we need to those people need to sort of prove or like show receipts for those arguments, and then yeah.
I mean, the per unit cost for affordable housing right now is $550,000 per unit.
What is
Affordable Housing Trust is not putting out $500,000, and even if they did, that's one unit out of.
what does that come to like a building? Like if you think about, I don't even know what it is right now, but let's say it's $300 a square foot to build
Oh, it's $500 a square foot.
a square foot. So is that for an affordable housing? So not a non-affordable housing is building. I don't think my prices are more than $500.
Right. It's a little bit more for affordable housing because they have all this administrative oversight to, first of all, put together all of that financing package and manage. And also there's a long sort of
So it costs
tail
Yeah, it's kind of shocking
to
to me it
manage
costs more.
affordable housing units because you have to make sure that the people who are going into them are income eligible and that you do all, so there's a lot of overhead that is not the same as for a private party building or building.
It costs more money to have affordable housing. Jesus.
Yeah.
Just one more quick comment. Some of the recommendations in here are pretty good. One of them that I really like is a while ago in 2018, there was a competition that was.
It
at-
didn't. I
That's
missed that.
okay. It was at the Ape Gallery. I don't know if any of you were able to attend that. 2018 was what, 8 years ago.
That was
And,
before COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah, before COVID. So that was a design for small ADUs at that point. And the city actually did that with a grant in order to try to find some, like not a cookbook, but a nice way to build a home. The state, the Commonwealth just came out with a plan to do a similar thing statewide, to have a design contest for small homes, which they're calling ADUs. You know, we here in the city use that term in a different way, but I think that would be great to enable people who don't really want to spend all that money on an architect and a draftsman and all of that. There's still other soft costs for sure, but if there was kind of a cookbook for these smaller homes that people could build, you know, in the back of their property or something, I think that would go a long way towards promoting the regular folks that do it instead of always a developer, you know. So that's a good recommendation. I'm interested to see what the state comes up with in terms of that competition.
Yeah, and I guess also part of that, a competition like that is also kind of public education or awareness of this kind of development. And anyway, yeah.
And that predated our zoning changes to sort of to create incentives for smaller units. And before, people weren't really thinking about that, and also energy efficient units. And we've sort of, we're leaps and bounds beyond that now in terms of the energy code and the small units. Yeah, I think, and also unfortunately, because it's gotten so complicated, many times you have to have an architect anyway. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, George.
I'm done.
Curious, Carolyn and the board, what our thoughts are on the fourth one down there, removing of the planning board site plan review for addition of a second unit or on a parcel.
This was from Carol. Yeah, this was Carolyn's suggestion.
You like it? So just, I mean, obviously that's not removing what we looked at earlier tonight, 52 Woodbine, because there's 3 units.
Right.
Talking about one additional
Yeah.
unit.
And so basically, yes, because we have this, it's a holdover. So in the zoning for forever, there's a trigger for site plan review for any construction of more than 2,000 square feet, except for a single family home. So you can build a 12,000 square foot single family home, do whatever you want. You don't go to planning board or anything. If you're going to build a 2,000 square foot second unit, either attached or detached, now it's 2 units, so it's no longer a single family. You're now into planning board realm. And so the whole idea is we wanted to make it easier for people to add 1 additional unit to their property, whether it's attached or detached, it's allowed. But still, if it's more than 2,000 square feet, or if it's detached, and we have the whole form-based code now for two units. So we have sort of the cookbook, but yet there's still a barrier. You know, there's a cost to come to the planning board there's a cost to put the plans together, go through this process. There's a time delay. If you have a builder you thought you had lined up, but then you have to go through this process, that might delay you. So it's really sort of another little incremental step to say, look, we've created this, so we created the cookbook for 2 families after this piece of the zoning has been in place for years. So it's sort of looking back, oh, we created this thing to make it easier, and so that we have very defined parameters about 2 units on a property. Maybe we can go back and scrap the trigger for site plan that's been on the books for 30 years. So it's really just taking just one little step to make it simpler for individual property owners who might just want to add 1 additional unit to their property.
So if I'm not mistaken, one of the benefits of the site plan review is if one of the benefits of the site plan review is that abutters get notified, right? So in most situations, if it's a small unit being built in the back of the house, it doesn't cause a lot of consternation, but sometimes there's a site plan review that, like, I don't think the developer tonight spoke with the people on that street or had any kind of neighborhood meeting. Other developers do, but so some people can get blindsided by a new development that seems to be squished into their neighborhood. So maybe there's other benefits to the site plan, but that's the only one that I'm aware of, really.
I mean, the other side to that, though, is and you hear this when when the members of the public come to the board to discuss projects where it's by right, it's very technical, you're looking at technical provisions, and people raise concerns, and the applicant has addressed them. And then the public says, well, if you're going to go ahead and approve this anyway, why are you having this public hearing? Because what I'm saying is I don't like this project and I don't want you to approve it. But in fact, the zoning has already set up, like, here are the things, applicants have to do to meet the criteria, and the board is just checking to make sure those things are in place. So there's that piece too.
Good, you have final
studies? Mostly papers to me, but I also know you all want to go to bed, so.
Can this be one of your papers?
A+.
Yep.
Good job.
Yes, I know it's a lot of text but thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Great job.
Thanks for bringing your fan club too.
All
I
right.
don't have any minutes.
Okay.
No
No
A-
minutes, no ANRs.
Move to close the meeting.
All right. Was there a second? Cameron?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor of closing the meeting at 8:45 p.m. So moved.